Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Spellbinders and doing something again different with the large die club of the month. And this one is called, as I need to real quick look at that again, the 3D Still Life Easel and Canvas. So these are your pieces, and I'll show you the pieces that we're going to cut. Now, this can be a card. It's a very interactive card. The easel will actually work. But I'm going to do, as you saw, do something a little bit different. We're going to make an art journal. So, as always, I pulled out my delusions that are cut down to be 8 by 8 because I destroyed the book. And I already put some texture on it using one of my brick stencils. I'm going to use my Oxide inks in Squeezed Lemonade, Abandoned Coral, and Pick Raspberry. And I'm just going to spray those on. Now, once I have them sprayed on here, I will also add some water just to get these colors to move. I like this look. It's kind of like a graffiti look, but I do want to have a flowy look in the background with what I do before that. So I have sped this up just a little bit faster than normal because I want to be able to show as much as I can without it being 3 hours long. So I grabbed one of my fan brushes and I'm using some white gesso, and I'm just going up and down this piece. I'm not watering the gesso down. I want it to be the full strength. I want it to pick up the texture, and it's actually, as I keep applying it in some areas, it's going to move the oxides. Remember, oxides are water reactive. Even though they're an ink and a pigment, they are still water reactive. The gesso is wet. At this point is where I'll add some of that water just to get some of that movement, so you can see those white streaks are now becoming solid. And I want those just to be in the background, making sure that I cross that over with the brick texture as well. I'm going to use my Picked Raspberry archival ink and a stamp from a set that I have from my stash. This had some ink splatters going through the script, and I just want that to go through. I was really looking for the ink splatters. So I'm just going to put those all throughout the back in random assortment. So that is our background pretty much so far. Now, I'm going to bring in my tear ruler and I'm going to tear this side off. I didn't know how it was going to tear with the molding paste that I used on that, but it did. It just tore right through it. So I did use the larger side from my tear ruler. I'm going to come in with some vintage photo, also some ground espresso, and then finally some black soot around the edge. I do like the brown to go around it, especially if I'm using shades of yellow, orange, and pinks. If I go towards the blue shades or the purple, I will come in with the black soot mainly. So they're kind of like the two colors that I go with. I'm taking another page from my 2-ring binder, or my 2-ring pages here, and I'm using one of my black Prismacolor alcohol markers, and I'm just coming in and coloring the one side black. Now you can also use black acrylic paint, anything else that you may have. If you have a watercolor, you can use that as well. I'm going to glue my background piece on top of this, so that black is going to come out the one side. I didn't go around all 4 sides to give it an edge. I do like taking 2 pages and tearing around to just show that different background. Not just going around the edges with the ink. It does, for me, it gives another frame. So I did cut these pieces 5 times, which is what you would need. I do have the piece that makes it the easel that kicks out. We won't be needing that. And I did use some gold foil paper to use as the top of the easel itself. So this here, what I'm working on is the canvas. Now I chose to keep mine in the craft color because I'm going to have another piece that comes on top of that. But you can make it white. You can make it any color. I mean, canvases come in many colors. So you can do that. And by rolling these corners up, I am going to use my double-sided tape. And I am using a tape that's 1/8 of an inch wide. So as you roll these up, you will get these squares. And you can see I'm just trying, okay, if I keep rolling this should get into a square. I am going to grab a pokey tool to get in there just to push down to make sure I have some good adhesion with my double-sided tape. You want to make sure that you bend each side just a little bit just to get that paper moving so that as you roll your sides up, it's just a little bit easier. Now I'm going to do the top and the bottom. So I'm going to bend, I'm going to remove the release paper, and I'm going to continue to fold this up. Now you can see that as I put this piece in, you get these great mitered corners. I mean, they're perfect. It goes together very easily. So you could either use the flat side, make it a canvas, or you could use this inside. You could build things up in there, have them flowing out, or anything else. You can use a marker to color that or some acrylic paint to paint around that to make it look like a frame. Put a piece of acetate on top and make it look like an actual picture frame. So now I'm going to work on the other 3 pieces that I need, and really it's 5. So I need 3 for the legs, and I need 1 for the top of the canvas, and I need 1 for the bottom. That's what's going to hold the canvas in place, along with some liquid glue, of course. So I'm just going to roll these up. I want 3 of these to be the full length. So again, I'm going to fold up these areas, and then I'm going to apply my double-sided tape, and then I'm just going to roll them up and fold this one piece over so that I get that square shape. These do go together very easily. So remember, to actually make this, you need 3 of these in the full length. And then I'll let you know, then there's notches on the other 2 pieces that you'll actually cut for the top and the bottom of the canvas. And that's what it sits on when you have an easel like this. So again, 3 of those. So now I'm just going to do some trimming, and you can see you have these 3 posts. Now here's where I cut one wrong, but that's okay. I should have, you want to cut the 2 outer, and then when you cut again, you want to cut the shorter. So I made that mistake, but that's okay. Again, I'm not making the card. I'm using this on a junk journal piece. So this is going to have, this piece has lots of dimension, which I think is awesome. Especially with, you know, I don't have those plastic rings that the papers snap on. I actually have hole punch my pages, and then I just have rings that I get from the dollar store that hold them together. So this is just can continuously expand. It's really going to expand. Okay, back to these. So you can see I put a little bit of double-sided tape. I'm folding down that one edge that has a score line, and I'm closing up the ends. Now these 2 pieces are going to come together to create the original triangle. Okay, so now that's there. Now I could stop there if I wanted to, but I did want that 3rd leg in the back. So what I decided to do was to cut the 3rd leg. Now, again, if you use this as a card, you would keep that piece loose so that it can move in and out and away from your card. So just like that. Now, what I'm going to do is, I know that piece is going to sit like that. So I'm going to cut it on an angle on each side. And of course, after I dropped it, I couldn't remember how I cut it. So just looking at that, and now I'm just going to come in on the other side. So you can see now I can nestle that right up in there, and I'm going to glue that. Just put a little bit of glue on the top and just adhere that up there. Now I know in the picture it doesn't look like I trimmed that bottom piece, but eventually I do so that it's even with the page. So now I get to cover all of that up because I kind of really pushed it up there so that it would stick. And this gold piece, which is the bracket, will just cover it all up. See, paper does an awesome thing. It covers things. And you can see that's where the canvas is going to sit. Now here's where I realized I cut it too short. I do want it to extend out beyond the canvas. I want it to be wider than what that is. So I'm going to real quick put this last one together. And then that's going to sit on the bottom. And then I have the one for the top. And now I'm just looking where I want, because I don't want to hide the gold for the top of the easel. So just making sure that I'm even. I'm using my I'm using my grid just to make sure that I'm straight. And I'm going to push on these just to make sure that it is flat. I'm going to put the canvas back in place, and then I'm going to set the other piece right along the top. So it will be just a little bit snug. Just going to hold that for a little bit so that it doesn't fall. And then I am going to secure that canvas to this piece as well. And you can see this is going to take up a lot of real estate on this page, which I think is great. So I am going to get this adhered down onto my art journal page, and I'm just going to hold that for a while. I'll try with an acrylic block, but yeah, I was fine with just keeping my hand there and just pressing down just a little bit. I'm going to real quick just go over that with some vintage photo. Just to give it a little bit. I should have done that before I put it onto my art journal page, but that's okay. I'm okay if some of that vintage photo gets down on that page. It just adds more. Even though this is going to be covered, I'm just going to add a little bit around those edges and then get that secured down as well. And I'm just worried about the center, the top, and the bottom. So that is our canvas and the easel set onto our page. Now I took care of a lot of die cutting. I had a lot of fun with this. So I am going to just put a little bit of black soot on each side of the paint tubes. I chose all kinds of different colors for the labels. And then I used my silver Wink of Stella for the top and the bottom. I'm then placing, you can see what I'm looking to do. So I want to line the left side of the page with all of the paint tubes. And you can see they're going in a rainbow order. And then I want the paint strips to come out of the other side from underneath of the page. So it actually, to me, it seemed like, you know, the paint tube was going underneath the journal and then coming out on the other side. It was just something that I came up with. So I am actually going to put each of these colors down in different ways. I didn't want them to be all the same. So some of them are going to come off the page. Some of them are going to, you know, face a different way. They're going to cross. And I will trim up that side once I have them in place. But I did want to make sure that I was seeing different ends of the paint swirl. I didn't want it to all be matchy-matchy. So I'm going to apply those all the way down. And again, the colors are going to match what's on the left-hand side. And then I even have one crossing over onto the background, the pink background color. So I'm using here my Arteza palette, disposable palettes. I'm loving these. I think these are great. Great to quickly grab. You can wipe these off, so they do last a couple times as well, and you get 40 sheets in each pack. So again, lots of die cutting going on here. So I cut about 18 of these brushes, and you get 3 different styles. So I'm going to use my own paintbrush, pick up some of the Oxide, and just put it on the tip of the brushes. Now I'm using the same colors that I used for the background, the Squeeze Lemonade, the Abandoned Coral, and the Picked Raspberry. So I grabbed one of my backgrounds from my stash and I cut it down. I love this one that had this bloom of, blue watercolor. I also die cut a vase from one of my other backgrounds, more of the ink smushing on that. And then I cut a couple of the flowers out of a watercolor panel that I had in my stash, and I thought they were perfect, and I added some vintage photo around each of these. I'm going to have the paint palette coming off of this canvas. I didn't want to do any more die cutting, so what I did was I just grabbed a scratch piece of paper, and I'm using my Arteza acrylic pens. You'll see another video with these. These are acrylic markers, and I'm still playing around with them, but I am very much enjoying them. So going to do a project just focusing on those. So I'm just coloring in little squares so that when I put that painter's palette on top, those colors are going to shine through. So I didn't have to die cut all of those colors to get the different colors for the paint palette. Yeah. I'm sure there was an easier way, and it probably would have been quicker if I did do the die cutting, but I wanted to do it this way. So once I have that piece, I'm going to cut it out and then just cut underneath the palette, because again, I'm just looking for those colors to be there. I'm going to real quick just cut out that section there, and then for the thumb hole to hold the painter's palette, I'm going to use my hole punch. And then that should be good. I'm going to put a little bit of glue down. I'm going to throw it down on my table first, because I always throw things. And I'm going to set this right down on top of them. And again, just a little bit of trimming, because I want that to sit underneath it. And then we will just adhere that to the corner of that piece. That piece is going to sit on top of the canvas. I have it a little bit bigger than the canvas, but I think it looks great. I'm going to add a couple of brushes underneath, a little bit of vintage photo, of course, and then I'm going to glue all of that in place. And then we're going to be all set. So I'm going to glue all of that down. Now, everything always has to be in odd numbers for me. For some reason, that is just appealing to my eye. So I'm going to get the canvas in place, and then I will add just another paintbrush to this section. I'm going to be using some of my foam letters by Stampers Anonymous. And if I look, let me see here if I can read it. They are called Type Lower, and these are the cling foam stamps that he has from, I'm sorry, not Stampers Anonymous, from Idea-ology. Yeah, I'll get this right. And I think they're great. So I just put that in some of the Oxide. I have it offset a little bit. And what I've stamped there is B. Yep, B-E. I could have just used a B. But I did just stamp out the B and the E. There's all kinds of letters that he has in those. And I just think they're great. They're perfect. I use them mainly for my art journals. I've added 3 more brushes out of the other side of the canvas just to give it a little bit of balance. I also pulled out my Glimmer machine, and for the Glimmer kit of the month, you saw that beautiful background and the beautiful sentiments there. Well, there's an add-on for sentiments, so I just chose the word crafty and I foiled it in the rainbow. So I've got the blues and the purples and the pinks on one crafty, and then I've got the reds, the orange, and the yellows, and the greens on the other crafty. So this says Be Crafty Crafty. And I think it is absolutely fitting. There is a lot going on this journal page, but I had so much fun putting this together. And again, it's another way to show you, give something else a try. It's a way to stretch out your dies. Just because we have dies and paper doesn't mean we need to make a card. We can make anything that we want and just use them in different ways. So you can see I've added 3 more brushes. So now I have 3 sets of brushes, 3 sets of 3. Coming out of that, I am going to get my date stamper, and I'm going to stamp right on that canvas for August 9th. And that is pretty much our journal. Now, I do add some highlights. I do add some splatters, as you can see here. I just didn't show that on camera, but you can see all the beautiful dimensions on this piece. I really do enjoy it. I don't think I'm going to put it in my book. I think I am actually going to have this sitting up on my counter, so just so that I can look at it. It makes me smile. So I do hope you enjoyed this project. It's something a little bit different. I hope you'll give it a try. And remember, this is the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month Club. All the links to all of their clubs that are available, and also the gallery, their blog, their shop, everything. It will all be linked down below. And make sure you check out some specials. I'll have some information down there that I definitely want you to check out. So please, if you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below, and I will make sure I get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, be part of the group here. Make sure you ring that bell so that you know when the next video is up and ready for you to watch. Thank you so much for taking this time with me. And again, I hope you do enjoy this video. But remember what's most important for me. 1, stay safe and healthy. And 2, always be creative. Till next time.